Hello, I'm Alistair Drewery, Languages Advisor for Pearson Edexcel, and I just want to say a few words about our new GCSEs in French, German and Spanish for first delivery from 2016. You've probably heard about some of the main changes already, and you may have one or two concerns, so I'm keen to reassure you that we'll be supporting you through them. It's certainly true that the new GCSEs will be very different to the ones that you're currently delivering in terms of the format and some of the assessments, but I know from our detailed discussions with teachers that many of you very much welcome the move away from controlled assessments and are really looking forward to spending more time teaching and less time assessing. The new GCSEs will provide your students with a really solid foundation in the target language. Emphasis will be placed on learners developing knowledge and understanding of language and grammar so that they can use the target language independently across a range of topic areas and in different contexts. Engaging and relevant for all, the new qualification should inspire learners to continue with languages and offer a smooth and logical progression route to AS and A-level study. Furthermore, the new qualification should, alongside your classroom teaching and your passion for languages, also help to motivate those who don't wish to study the language further. Maybe to visit the countries where the languages are spoken, or perhaps to give them a head start if they need to learn another language in the future. So let's consider some of those aspects of the new GCSEs that represent new challenges. Use of target language questions in the listening and reading, translations from and into the target language, and a requirement for literary texts in reading papers. All GCSEs in French, German and Spanish now require 30% of the questions on the reading papers and 20% of the questions on the listening papers to be in the target language. In terms of the reading papers, we already feature a target language reading element in our higher tier papers, believing this to be quite logical in a reading paper. We've also used target language questions in previous GCSEs across both tiers and use them in our current Edexcel certificate and linked international GCSE qualifications, which are both untiered. So we have plenty of good experience to draw on. We know that it's crucial that the target language used in the questions is accessible so that we actually test comprehension of the reading texts rather than an ability to work out what the questions mean. This is also true in our listening papers where we are of course testing target language listening rather than target language reading. Consequently, you'll see that our target language questions for the new GCSEs have been designed to be concise and easy to understand. We've had positive feedback from teachers and students following recent trialling, and they've highlighted the fact that the target language questions are not necessarily any more challenging than those asked in English. It's also important to note that a target language question does not always require students to produce their own responses in the target language. And in any case where that may be required, a short 1 or 2 words answer will normally suffice. Any such target language answers would be marked for effective communication and not for accuracy. And it's our intention that no listening paper questions will require any answers in the target language. Translation is quite new to GCSE, and although many teachers already do this now from Key Stage 3, it has undoubtedly caused some concern. It's important to note, however, that we're mainly looking at short and straightforward transfer of meaning type exercises of a few sentences. Students from trialling centres stated that although they weren't used to this sort of activity, they liked the task type and feel that it's important for any language learner to have some practical translation skills. The translation into English appears in the reading paper, and the translation into the target language will form part of the writing paper. Marks will be awarded for effective communication of message only for the translation into English, and similarly marks will be given for effective communication as well as for how well the language has been used in the translation into the target language. It's worth stressing that although a key element of the new specification, it's intended that the marks attributed to the translations will only account for a small percentage of the overall qualification marks. The incorporation of literary texts into the GCSE assessments coincides with an increased emphasis on their use in the classroom at key stages 3 and 4, so please don't panic about these new assessments. It doesn't mean that your GCSE candidates will all have a set text to learn, as some teachers first feared. It will simply mean that the reading papers will feature some questions that just happen to be based on a short extract of an authentic or an appropriately adapted authentic target language text. This helps to ensure that students encounter a richer and broader range of reading material. Our piloting of this new question type with certain centres soon enabled us to identify which question types worked best, so that we can ensure that candidates can move on freely in the paper to questions based on a literary text without undue concern. Clearly, the format of the new GCSE will be quite different, with 25% of the marks allocated to each of the 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading and writing, and with 100% external assessment through examinations and a centre-conducted oral in a final assessment window. It's not all change everywhere though, and you'll find that a great deal is familiar. There's been no huge changes to the prescribed grammar lists. Although content will be linked to contexts of identity and culture, local, national, international and global areas of interest, and current and future study and employment, much of the content will be very familiar to you. The new topic areas should help to promote a broader and deeper understanding of the cultures of the target language countries and communities, while still offering popular content. These GCSEs will also be tiered, which means that our examiners will devise question papers across all skills that are appropriately targeted to the needs of either foundation or higher tier learners, with appropriately scaffolded question papers that provide support and stretch as required. We're looking at creating student-focused assessment, and it is intended that our speaking and writing exams will feature a certain amount of choice where appropriate. And we've been refining our assessment criteria and mark schemes to ensure that they are easy to understand and apply. To develop appealing and inclusive qualifications, we've not been working in isolation. We've been working with a variety of different language stakeholders, from language associations to academics, advisors, and of course teachers and students. Rest assured that we'll be supporting you through the changes. There'll be free qualification launch events, getting ready to teach meetings, as well as more focused training, including sessions on integrating literary texts into assessment and training for translation. There will, of course, be specifications, plenty of sample assessment materials, teacher guides, and much more. Keep visiting the Languages subject page or sign up to my Language Subject Advisor updates for further news. If you'd like to take a look at our draft materials, they'll be available to view in the summer term, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And if you think there are more or different things that we could be doing to support you in your teaching, we'd like to hear from you. Your voice in this process is enormously important.